The reason I see the Master Jewellery collection to be so important is actually having it crafted by the very person that made it in the movies.
I think it's really important for a piece to tell the story of how it's created, to have the marks of the maker on the surface of the piece, and I'm really excited to be back in this world.
It's been well over 2 decades since we started on our Lord of the Rings collectibles, but always we've discussed, is there the opportunity to create a Masters Collection jewellery line? The jewellery wasn't made at Wētā Workshop. They were made under the watchful and wonderful eye of Ngila Dickson, the head of costuming, responsible for the visual look of all the costume jewellery that we see in the films. But it ultimately comes down to a practitioner, a craftsperson, to realise these designs. And in the case of our first Master Jewellery collection, that was Jasmine Watson.
So I started working on The Lord of the Rings when I was 25, and I was employed specifically as a jeweller. My role encompassed designing and making the jewellery. Every day for 2 years I sat down and drew and drew and drew, and then once we had a design, then I'd be down the other end of the room making it. So my approach to the Master Jewellers collection was to refer to the books. There's usually always a very specific description of the pieces.
They're a celebration of her artistry. The authenticity that Jasmine brought is going to be imbued into these, and that's a very special thing.
So the 3 pieces I've created are the crown of Arwen, the ring of Aragorn, and the ring of Galadriel. The ring of Galadriel is very finely pierced. It has a top filigree of dragonflies, and then those are attached over the white topaz stone, and so you don't see the stone in its entirety, you see glimpses of it through the fine piercing. The concept behind it is the Galadriel ring is Nenya, and so that's the ring of water, and so we looked at what might be a good motif to use for that, and so I came up with the idea of a dragonfly wing. Dragonfly wings are very abstract, and so we were always looking at ways in which we could do things that were complex but also unusual and original. For the ring of Aragorn, I referred directly to the description of the ring in the book. It's this really beautiful description where it describes serpents and emeralds and golden flowers. So that was my starting point. And then I was looking at Art Nouveau forms, and then just really looking at the way those snakes could entwine and what kind of form they would take and what sort of detail they would have. The ring of Aragorn is carved from wax and cast in silver, and then it has a lot of fine engraving, particularly on the faces of the snake and the detail of the bodies of the snakes. And it has very delicate 22 karat gold flowers, and it's set with a tourmaline. So when I was designing and making pieces for the elves, I was really thinking about how they would have made it and the tools they would have used, and trying to bring in an authenticity to the piece, because the elves were very much nature inspired, and Ngila's exact words were a crown like no other. The elves being master craftsmen, it really made sense. The crown of Arwen is made completely of sterling silver. So Ngila really liked the idea of a butterfly motif for Arwen. The wings have got like a fine wire detail on them, and Ngila wanted it to have the look and feel of a stained glass window with the detail on the wings, and so that's how we came up with the idea of adding the colour and then having the beads coming down. The pieces are almost identical to the original pieces. The only changes I've made, my technical ability is better now, and in some cases I'm using the same tools, but the complexity of the design is ever present.
Limiting them to 25 felt right. The authenticity is very special. and each piece will be handmade, and that's an important distinction. Being able to give Jasmine the opportunity to authenticate her art and share it out to the world for people to collect is a very inspiring thing.